Four Midwest Guys presents Star Trek Picard Review.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Picard Review. Today we'll be reviewing episodes 9 and 10, the finale if you will, or put them back to back. That would be the name of the episode is Et in Arcadia Ego, parts 1 and 2. Be episodes 9 and 10, parts 1 and 2. So this is one big episode to end the Picard, Star Trek Picard Season 1. Mm-hmm. Before we start that, though, you probably wonder, why did it take so long for us to do 9 and 10? Well, a little thing happened in the world called COVID-19, and we kind of disappeared and did our own things, and we obeyed the rules, and we're still obeying those rules, but we found ways to do things online now, so hopefully we'll be back. If we can't do it in person with each other, if things get bad again, we can at least...
Yeah, if they escalate. Now that things have been, they've gotten a little lenient on the way things can happen.
We're back.
We're back for now.
For now, and if not, we think we figured out an online way to do it, maybe. So hopefully we're good from this point forward for you. So it's where we've been. Just wanted to let you know, and we're back, and hopefully you'll tune back in and tell your friends about us and let us know how we're doing. But let's jump into, first of all, I'm sorry, Brian, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, man.
Yeah?
Doing good. Yep, never got hit by the virus, but
me neither, thank God.
Yeah, but did my part for the social distancing and everything else, and
Right, me too.
So now I'm glad to be, that's over for now.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
let's hope it goes away and stays away.
That was rough.
Yeah, God willing. But that's where we've been, and hopefully that'll be, we won't have to talk about it anymore. We can get back to, won't say complete normalcy, but
heck yeah. I want to talk about complete normalcy.
I would love to talk about complete normalcy. So
let's do complete normalcy, please.
All right then. Well, let's get into the episode then. We'll get right back to normal. All right. So right off the bat, you might be wondering what Et in Arcadia Ego is. I did a little investigating on this, and apparently it was two paintings done basically in the 1600s. One shows two shepherds looking at a skull of a dead shepherd with the ET phrase, with the Et in Arcadia Ego on there. And basically it translates to I too was in Arcadia. Now Arcadia is basically being described online as like a utopia land for shepherds. So it kind of relates to the organics in the sense, with the sense being the shepherds kind of looking at the dead shepherd skull, which would be the organics, and that they went before them to try to learn from them. At least that's my interpretation after doing a little bit of background on, because I thought that was an unusual title.
Yeah, it was very unusual.
Yeah, so I thought I'd do a little digging. I don't know. What do you think, Brian? You're a little bit more artistic and have a little bit more artistic background than I do.
Yeah, I mean, well, I look at it as the, you look at the two shepherds looking on at a skull of a shepherd. Mm-hmm. It could also be the synths looking at the dead Sith. You know what I mean?
The ones.
The ones that already died, because it's their utopia essentially where they're at.
Right, it is. It's very much a Garden of Eden.
So you could also look at it from that aspect, where it's their basically coming of age, finding their place, their ancestors are laying the groundwork that they're coming up on.
Okay.
Kind of something similar to that, and we get some of that in this.
Yeah, we get a lot of that
in these last 2 episodes.
So yeah, that's a good interpretation. I like that one. So a little food for thought there as we move forward. Big thing with these episodes that we've had in every other Picard episode so far that we don't get in these last 2 episodes, there's no flashback.
I don't think there was room for them.
Yeah, they basically said this is it. We're going to wrap up the story, and it's going to take 2 episodes as it is. So, and we've set all the groundwork that we needed to set, which is what the flashbacks have done. So from here on out, no more flashbacks.
We didn't have flashbacks, but we did have a lot of continuous storylines running at the same time that we kept bouncing back and forth between.
We did. Yes.
We didn't have a ton of that in the past episodes. We did get the flashbacks,
yep.
And this one was basically everything's happening right now, bounce back and forth between everything.
And then we have to, because they have to wrap it up and tie it up. But yes, but all right. So let's dig into episode 9, part 1. It kind of starts off with the travel through the Borg transwarp drive conduit. It's a bumpy ride for everyone except for Dr. Girardi, who's kind of freaking out. What did you take on that with her? Just because everybody else think it's cool. I think Soji had a big smile on her face. Everybody else was just in amazement.
It reminded
losing her mind.
Yeah, well, it reminded me of one of those, when your first boat ride, do you get seasick?
There you go. That's good comparison. Yeah.
Like one of those things. Like the other people, you got your adventure seekers, your roller coaster riders,
right?
And then you got your people who this is their first time on a roller coaster ride, so they have that different reaction.
Right. So, but they did, I think Picard even said they ended up traveling 25 light years in 15 minutes or something ridiculously crazy, which is like warp 25 or something.
Yeah, it was nuts.
Yeah, so, quite a bit of distance in a short period of time. So, they arrive at the android home and they call it Coppelius. That's it, thank you. Did some research on that because you know me, it's an unusual name. So, apparently Coppelia is a 1966 movie based on a 1860s ballet about a doctor or scientist in a Spanish village that makes mechanical dolls that he passes off as real. So it relates. It's
100% relates.
So there you go. So there's always, these Star Trek writers always try to pick cool names that are somehow relatable. So we also find out though that Narek follows them back, and also the Borg cube comes out of the transconduit as well. And there's this kind of brief giant space battle, and then which is cool. But as soon as the Borg cube comes up, and you think the Borg cube's going to kick some ass, giant orchids show up in space.
Yeah. It was very interesting. It was what really I thought was very interesting was that a planet of robots uses organics as their shield.
Yeah, they're using something organic or
right. Whereas like the Earth, uses robotics or machinery
to protect
the organics.
Yep.
It was kind of completely reversed.
Where the androids. That's a good analogy. I didn't think about it like that. I was really disappointed in the orchids. I really wanted to see the space battle. I'm a big Star Wars fan, so I like the wars part of it. But I hadn't thought about that, so a little reversal there. Could very well be the reason we get the orchids. But the orchids, they basically they take out, not only do they take out Picard, Rio's ship, and they take out Narek, and they also take down the Borg cube. So these things are not they're not just pretty.
Right, but we also find out that there's not a lot of them.
Right. They don't have a ton of them to use, but the ones that they use are effective because they took down a Borg cube, which in my opinion, although a damaged one, still...
Right, we still watch that Borg cube tear through the Starfleet.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it's like wow, just to see that power. And then again, it also goes back to that, life finds a way kind of thing, where it's like, trust Earth or trust your planet. It knows what it's doing, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's basically what it was protecting itself, essentially.
Well, they made them, but yes, their inspiration was organics. Yeah. So. Very Star Trek-y, I guess, thing to do. Well, the more I think about it.
Well, yeah, it goes back to Star Trek. It's always been one of those pushing the lines of what's going on in the world, with the climate change and everything else, and listen to Mother Earth and everything else. So they kind of put that in here a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. That's good. Good points. So during the crash, Picard passes out, and he says, and when he passes out, he says, "Thanks everyone for coming." While he's passed out, so he's like he's in a coma state, but that's what he says to everybody. Which at the time, because I hadn't seen part 2 yet, at part 1, I'm like, "Aha! My Data theory. Data's in there. That's Data talking." And Picard. That's not Picard just saying that. That's Data's memories coming out. He's thanking everybody for
Right.
joining him along the way.
Right.
Which I really think was a storyline at one point.
I hope.
I think they changed it.
I wish it would have been.
I think they changed it.
Like I put that in our notes from when I talk about my as a whole for the series.
Yeah.
But it was just it was one of those moments like you said was like, ooh, are we gonna get it? And then it was like, no, you're like, okay.
Yeah, they went a completely different direction, obviously. But at the time, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Why else would he say that? Why else would he say that? Obviously, it's Data coming out while Picard's out. He's coming through. He's trying to communicate.
Yeah.
I don't know, but anyway, Girardi does confirm when he does get to sickbay that his brain aneurysm, well, they just call it an anomaly. They never really give it a name, I guess, is in its final stages, and that he goes on and basically tells the crew the same thing. And if anybody says anything, you're going to piss me off. So don't bring it up again.
Right.
Essentially, those are the rules that Picard's playing by. Don't feel sorry to me. Don't talk to me about it. That's it. That's the end
we're
of
just gonna go on like we normally would.
it. Yeah. So typical Picard, which I thought that was fitting to his character. They decide to go explore the crashed cube. They do find 7 of 9, and Elnor did survive, along with a lot of the XB, the ex-Borg are there. They use those long-range sensors, and the Vatdash Romulan fleet, they're about 24 hours away, and they say there's only 218 warbirds. That's all.
Right.
Yeah.
And one of them is being driven by O.
By O is in command, yeah, apparently, which we find out later. But yeah, 218 warbirds. They're not screwing around.
No. Well, you got to think that the synthetics were the ones that that's the only thing the Romulans were scared of.
Yeah.
So they're coming at full force trying to get rid of them
with everything they got.
Yeah,
Apparently.
I mean we did find out previous episodes that they were the ones that in charge of the track on Mars.
Yeah, they were behind it.
They were behind it, and was because they wanted to get rid of the synthetics because of what they saw in
the apocalyptic vision.
Yeah, the vision,
the doomsday.
And so now that they have a chance to wipe them all out, that's their.
Yeah, and they're not screwing around.
No.
That's not just a force to wipe out another fleet of ships or take out 1 or 2 ships or 1 city. I mean, that's enough to destroy the entire planet.
Yeah.
Not like Death Star wise, but literally leave the planet barren wasteland.
Yeah.
No life whatsoever. Then the next scene, which I thought was interesting, is Picard says goodbye to 7 and 9 and Elnor. Elnor. And but when he goes, when he's going to leave, 7 and 9 goes, don't stop saving the galaxy or something like that. And Picard turns to him and goes, "I leave that up to you now." So he's almost. No, he's aware that he's dying. He's aware that his time is coming to an end, and he's basically passing the baton. He said because he says, "I'll leave that to you." I believe is.
Yeah, well, it kind of felt like they were trying to set up a 7 of 9 series.
Kind of,
you know what I mean?
They could offspring this if they
like
wanted to.
it was like, I'm gonna leave that up to you to go on your own journeys.
Both
to have,
of you, yeah.
to have more episodes for another Star Trek series without actually saying and actually announcing, hey, coming in fall, 7 of 9.
7 of 9 and
Yeah,
Elnor.
you know what I mean?
The Elnor 7 of 9 series. Lost Borg Cube.
Yeah.
Come see it. It was but yeah, he was basically he's giving he's like, it's up to you now. That mantle, that job, that mission that was mine is now yours. He's basically empowering them.
Right, because I think it had a lot to do with the fact that Elnor was a
he's part of the
the fighting nuns,
the good Romulans.
The
anti-Vadash.
Yeah, so he was part of them, and 7 to 9 became a ranger.
Right.
To help the galaxy. So it kind of felt like he was giving it on to a new team of superheroes, if you will, that were going to go patrol the galaxy.
Yep, and try and save it.
Yeah. And that's what I gathered from it. Now I really hope after everything's said and done, I hope that they connect back again.
I think it'll come back in season 2. I would think. Especially if they're going to spin off.
That's what I'm hoping it comes back.
Yeah.
And they reconnect to become part of this crew again. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure they'll be in season 2 because they're there at the end. So which we'll get to. So they finally arrive at Capella Station, which is basically I got Garden of Eden for androids. We see the androids are playing with soccer balls, essentially. That it's a place of learning. It's a place where they're just developing as creatures, as synthetic life, right?
Right.
It's literally a garden for them. They're very.
They have no worries.
Yeah, they have very little worries. Very naive to the world. Very much like children.
Yep.
Yeah. Like I said, like a Garden of Eden, if you will. We also see that some of these androids look more like Data than Soji. So Soji looks completely human, but there are others like Arcadia and Sultra, which we'll talk a little bit more about later. But they look more like Data. They have Data's skin, and some just have Data's eyes. That they have the android eyes. So they're much more android-esque looking now. Does that mean that they came beforehand, or did they just simply do that with Soji and her sister because they were putting them undercover?
That's what I think. I think it was they were evolving, and so what's her name? What's the one at the very end? His name Sultra.
Sultra is the one the Vulcan. Yeah, that's the one I call her. Vulcan.
Yeah,
Vulcan android.
So anyway, so she was. Since she looked just like the other ones, but she was more Data-esque. I think she was the version 2.0, and the girls were 3.0.
3.0.
Yeah, they came later, and he was just trying to perfect
upon what. Every time.
Yeah, every time trying to make them more human, because that was Data's
goal
was to become more human. So that was actually what Doctor whatever his name is. What is his name on the show? Because it wasn't Data. What was it?
Oh, you're talking about not Soon, but are you talking about?
Is it Soon?
Soon's the new character. It gets in there. There's Alton, Indigo, Soon.
Yes. Who's the son of whoever?
Son of Dr. Soon, who's Data's creator. So this is actually Data's biological. Well, he's a biological version. He's human.
Yes.
He's the son of Dr. Soon. In a way, he's Data's brother.
Yeah.
He looks just like Data, except he's older because he's aged like a normal human would.
Yes, and I think
and he's played by Brett Spiner, so
yeah.
So that's what you're talking about.
That's what I was talking about.
Okay. Yeah. So we've got. So let's talk about him real quick. Oh, one other thing is they're all in pairs. Like the only ones you don't see in pairs are the ones that have already been killed. So Soji, Dash, was it Dash? Yeah, Soji and Dash. So Dash obviously isn't there, and then Sultra, who was Jaina, who is the one Rios met on his ship, the one that got killed. So that was that pair. Jaina is obviously missing, but they have Sultra, who we'll talk about as well here in a minute. But let's talk about Alton Indigo Soon. He is the biological son of Dr. Soon, Data's creator. He comes across. I think even Data, when we get later in part 2, calls him, not to give out too many spoiler alerts, but...
it's okay, because we're doing both together.
Yeah, calls the Soons an acquired taste, and he's definitely kind of an acquired taste. He's a little bit of an odd person, to be sure.
Well, it's one of those, we know Data.
Yeah.
He looks like Data, so we
want him to act like Data.
Yeah, we want him to assume that he's always going to be out for the good.
Right.
But some stuff he does comes across like...
He's out for himself.
Evil scientist.
Yes, very much so. Or he's out for his own survival, let's just say.
Yeah.
And he's kind of looked at as the father of the community, and by all the androids as well. So he's kind of the father figure.
Well, because he is the creator of them.
Right. Because he's continuing his father's work.
Yep.
Essentially. So that brings us into Sultra. Now Sultra is, again, she looks a lot more like Data. Her skin is more yellowish. She has Data's eyes, the greenish eyes. The thing that's different about she is the twin of she's Jaina's twin, so the one that got killed on Rios' ship again. So that's Sultra. But the thing that's weird about Sultra is she studied Vulcan culture to the point where she has mastered the mind meld, which to me is kind of like I've never looked at the mind meld, and I'm going to get all Star Trek and nerdy here for a second, but for me, I've never looked at the mind meld as a thing that you can learn from just reading the books. That it is something that is the spiritual side of the Vulcans, and then that's something unique to the Vulcans because it involves the spirituality part of it, and that somehow that an android, even one that is advanced as Sultra, can somehow, I don't know, master the mind meld. I feel like it's reaching a little bit. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, when you go to that aspect of it, it does seem more like the mind meld was part of more of like a Vulcan religion.
Yeah.
Than it was Vulcan, taught.
Right.
Like because not everyone could do the mind meld.
Yeah.
Even as Vulcans, but it was the ones that were more highly
the ones trained
and highly religious, kind of like in touch.
Yeah, with that spiritual side of their being.
I just like you said, I didn't understand. I was like, what?
It was a very convenient plot.
Yes.
Line.
Like when I saw it, I was like, what? And then to go from there to she knows what to build for the...
Like the coordinates were part of the Doomsday message.
Yeah, like whatever. I was like, thanks for trying to put 17 episodes into 2.
Yeah. So I had a real hard time with that. I'm still having a hard time with that. But anyway, one thing I did predict when I did the episode 7 review, I said I had one theory that I thought the message was too complex for even the Romulans to grasp.
Mm-hmm.
That it was just too complex. Well, that turns out that's true because Sultra was able to get not just part of the message that
she was able to comprehend the whole thing.
She got the entire message,
which was even weirder because it's like, so then she's like, oh, so now they're gonna come and try to kill us and blah blah blah, and this is what's gonna happen. So we need to eradicate them before they eradicate us, and it's just like, wow.
It goes very deep, very quick, but we find out that we're introduced basically to a whole new species out there in this episode. They call themselves, in the message, you hear themselves call themselves the Alliance of Sith Life.
Yeah.
Again, the Alliance of Sith.
Yeah.
Alliance of Synth Life. So the Alliance of Synthetic Life. I'm going to call them ASL for short.
Yeah.
Probably for the rest of this. But they're out there waiting for the new synths to come along and to contact them through this beacon/portal device. So in a lot of ways, the Vadash are right that the message says that the synths will evolve as organics, and that as the synths evolve, their evolution will become so advanced that the organics will want to annihilate the synths. And basically, everything they were telling us is almost, I'd say, 90% true, with the exception of going down to the synths themselves.
It was really weird because you're like the whole thing. You're like, down with the Romulans and down with this, and you're like
and all of a sudden they're right.
And then you're like, wait a minute, which side are we on?
Yeah, who are we rooting for here?
Because as we're watching these last 2 episodes, at one point you've watched the first 8 and you're like, okay, yeah. Screw the Romulans, we're out for humanity and blah blah blah, yeah. And then you're watching the last 2 episodes, you're like, wait a minute,
they just flipped it.
You're like, wait a minute, yeah. I don't want them to win now. I want humanity to win. I'm still on humanity's side. So you're watching, you're like,
yeah, because basically the ASL, the Alliance of Synthetic Life, says we will come, contact us, we will come, and we will come in, and we will destroy all organic life for you.
Yeah. Yeah,
we'll come rescue you.
We'll clear the slate, and it's like, wait a minute, that means all organic life.
Yeah,
not just the ones that are arguing with you. It was all
everything, everybody, everywhere. So everything, and we'll get in a little bit more when Narek starts talking about their version of Armageddon. We'll talk about it more then. But yeah, so it turns out that this ASL, this Alliance of Synthetic Life, is a bad guy, and not just a bad guy, but they're They're like the Terminators.
I was gonna say, I was gonna say it's like Doomsday.
Yeah, they represent they're basically the T-1000s and the what is it?
Yeah.
What was it?
Skynet.
Skynet. Thank you. That's what I was trying to think of. They're the Skynet of the Star Trek world, and they
Star Trek just introduced Skynet. What the fuck?
Yeah, I know. And they're not only are they that, but they're extremely powerful if they can come in and wipe out all organic life. This makes them a bigger threat than the Borg.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's how deadly they could be, or at least from their message that we think they are. Anyway, so we move to the next scene and we see Picard is trying to contact Starfleet, and he's trying basically to declare asylum for Coppelius, because under first contact rules there's some sort of asylum or protection if they.
And that would make him have to be a life form.
Right.
Like, so you have to be declaring them as a life form, as a civilization,
and that he's make first contact, and therefore they fall under protection of the of Starfleet.
Yes.
And it's basically a big political UN kind of
it's his last card he could play.
Yeah.
Because he can't just otherwise he doesn't have Starfleet's backing, and if they refuse, then Starfleet has done what he wanted them to do, and basically collapse on itself because he's upset with Starfleet the way they acted. Mm-hmm. So it's one way or the other. Either you're going to come help me and we're going to do this, or you're not going to do it, and then everybody's going to see that you didn't do it.
Right, and then it's history repeating itself again, or that or not. Will they redeem themselves or not?
Yes.
Very good points. So we move on, and obviously we get Soji confronting Narek. They capture Narek. Obviously, there's a scene, and she goes and confronts him. She wants to kill him, but she decides not to.
That's weird.
And she even acknowledges that in his own strange, twisted, fucked up way, he loves her. And, and she believes him.
I believe it too.
I do too, because he's that screwed up in the head. He's trying to kill the thing that he loves.
Yeah, well,
and he only loves it because it's taboo, though.
Well, I think it was more of those. It was what fell in line with one of those, like you fall in love with those, because you got so close, and you just become invested in that, and you don't want that to end. It's kind of similar to, it's kind of similar to our relationships where, you become that close to someone, and despite the negativity and everything else, it's that companionship that you're like, but I'm just comfortable with us being together, regardless of the fights or whatever. We do have those other things that connect us, and they both were connected to a lot of the history and learning of the history and everything else, and they both
the process.
Yes, they both were like connected to those things, and that's where I think that's where his mind is.
Okay,
is the he doesn't so much the synthetic part is what he hates. But he knows she's past that, and it's that humanity part of her that he's connected to.
See, I see him much darker. I see him much more twisted. I see him. He only loves her because she's forbidden to him.
Yeah, I think the forbidden fruit.
Yeah, he gets off on that.
I don't doubt that. But he also sleeps with his sister. So
well, we think he does.
I'm pretty positive.
I'm hopefully not, but
I'm pretty positive.
but I don't even think about it.
I'm pretty positive.
La 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 la.
I'm pretty positive. Either that. I hope they're not even related.
I hope they're not either.
Because that was kind of weird.
Yeah, more than weird. So Sultra sees this opportunity. She plots and uses Narek to kill Arcana. Who's the synth, by the way, we meet at the very beginning when
the butterfly one.
Yeah, the butterfly one. And
I didn't know what her name was.
Yeah. And they kill him. They use it to sway Soji's decision to contact the ASL, the Alliance,
build the beacon,
and to build the beacon. Because basically up to that point when she sees that she's killed, she's like, I could have killed him. Why didn't I kill him? I should have killed him. So even there's a scene even there with her and Picard debating the issues of whether to take life or not. She's on the fence, and this is what sways her to go towards the beacon,
right?
And to basically say organics.
Is this the one where we see where like obviously it wasn't Narek that killed her?
That's later.
Okay, yeah.
But up to this point, we think it's
Narek
up to this point. Yeah. So, Uh, then obviously when Picard learns of the plan, he denounces the plan, and he offers them the alternative with making the same. Basically, he's making the same promise he made to the Romulans. He basically says, "I have a ship. We can get you out. We can move you to safety. I'll be your advocate for Starfleet. I will speak up for you." Blah blah blah. It's essentially the same damn thing that he did for the Romulans and trying to evacuate Romulus and that whole disaster, which wasn't totally his fault. But he's basically making the same promise to the synthetics. And basically Alton hears all this, knowing what happened, calls his bluff and calls him out on it and goes, they didn't listen to him before, why would they listen to him now?
Yep.
And he basically puts the whole thing back on Picard again, even though it's not his. I still don't say it's all 100% his fault. His fault was walking away.
Well, yeah, it wasn't Picard's fault.
No, but he basically Alton makes it out, and because Picard walked away, he still sees that as a sin, and therefore
he tries to make it his.
Yeah, and that's just the problem. They basically put him under house arrest after that. I don't know, any other feelings on that whole the scene there? Maybe you caught something I didn't.
No, but it's one of those. Then that's kind of where you start getting the Alton's out for himself.
Yes, this is very much about Alton.
Right? Yeah, because up to this point, Picard and Alton are the only two humans
on the planet.
All of a sudden, he just turns against the other human.
Well, Dr. Girardi's there, but we're about to talk about that.
But you know what I mean. Like it was like, there's only the three of you. How are you gonna turn on the only other human there? Like, what the fuck?
So what happens is, because Alton, because we see this scene where Alton reveals he's built this golem, or essentially this synthetic human being. Human creature.
Human-esque body.
That he needs help to transfer his mind from himself into the body, and that's why he built the body. But he needs Dr. Girardi's help to do that, because she's the expert as far as the mind transfer. He says he does mostly bodies. He doesn't really do.
And that's she said that in the very beginning of the whole series. Mm-hmm. She said that her and
Maddox.
Her and Maddox. She did one part, he did the other.
Right.
And they both learned from whatchamacallit's technology. Soon's technology.
Soon, yeah.
And she did one part, he did the other.
Yeah. And what's funny is in a very surprise, Girardi basically says, "I will help you do that. I will help transfer your essence, Alton, so you will survive the coming apocalypse, because you will now become a synthetic. But I will sacrifice myself in the process, because obviously they're going to kill me because I'm an organic," which is strange. And then you get the whole Sultra thing to Girardi. It's like, would you die a mother? Because he goes, well, she is maybe the closest thing to your mother. And then Sultra goes, would mother die for her children? Will you die for us? And she says yes.
I know, and that's when I was like,
whoa.
Like, okay, like I knew she was like, you knew she was right on the edge, like
being crazy.
Yeah, being crazy.
Yeah.
And then you're like, wow, she really is nuts.
Yeah. And then the next scene is just, you see the fleet, you see O on the fleet, and they're 24 hours out, and they're coming. And that's the end of part one. We're going to move right into part two. We'll save grades and everything for the end, I think, because it really is one episode. It's just one giant episode.
Yeah.
Again, no flashback scene, like we talked about earlier. We find Narek, who's escaped with the help of Sultra, is made his way to the Borg cube, and surprisingly his sister Narissa is still on the cube, and apparently has been the entire time, which is strange to me.
That they wouldn't censor.
How did 7 of 9 not censor? She's the Borg queen. She even says to Picard that, I saw you guys going in the transwarp conduit. That's how I knew to open one by my own and come help you and all this. It's like I was connected to everything. I could see everything. Yet somehow she has a hiding place that they never show us.
Well,
on the cube and
it was the same thing for their sensors at the Borg Queen's that room was off all sensors from the whole place.
Yeah. That's true.
So, who's to say that she wasn't...
Narissa hadn't created one of her own or something. I don't know. It's a plot hole that they don't answer. because you don't see the room. All she says it has an ocean view to Narek, and that's all you hear.
Yeah.
And you have no idea how. So I'm pointing out the plot hole because I'm like, I just don't understand. Then we switch to Picard to Soji. Basically, Soji comes to Picard to check on Picard, and basically Soji's saying, I don't have any choice here. I have no choice. I have to do this. I'm basically saying, I'm sorry, I have to do this. I have to kill all the organics. I have no choice.
Yep.
And Picard hits her back with no choice seems to me as a lack of imagination, because your salvation is our annihilation. And basically it's kind of trying to sway her back.
Yeah.
As he often does.
And Soji's looking at it as, these are my people.
Right.
And Picard's looking at it more as, you've been with us.
Right.
We're your people. Not
them. You
not
are
them.
part of us. Yeah. You're an extension of us, whatever you want to call it. So we switch back to Narek. He takes grenades to blow up what he tells his sister he's going to blow up the Orchits. Anyway. And then he gets followed off by Elnor. Follows him out. There's nothing much else there, other than the two brother and sister somehow know that they probably won't see each other again. That's about the only other thing you get. I'm going to hold off till later, but we'll talk more about that. Then we switch to Rafi and Rio. They end up using this synth imagination tool to fix their ship, which I thought was kind of neat. That was very Star Trek-y.
I did too. I thought it was kind of cool. I was like, okay.
So they got this like little giant holographic generator, and it creates a tool. You just have to think about it in order to fix something.
I thought it was pretty badass, honestly.
Yeah, I thought it was neat. Otherwise I was going to skip over it, but I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Then Narek ends up convincing Rio, Raffi, and Elnor to help him destroy the beacon / portal to the ASL, which is the Alliance of Synth Life. And then Narek. Then they kind of switch to like a campfire scene, and they're all sitting around the campfire, and Eric decides to start describing what he calls Gamadan, which is basically their Armageddon, and he talks about the monsters and the beasts, and it's like their version of Revelation in the Bible, I guess. And you start hearing about how the first sister would beat on a drum, her heart bursts, but this drum is made of the skin of children and all this weird stuff. And he talks about the beast that'll come from the crack in the sky and how they will feast on the blood of the organic. And he goes on and on and on. But the interesting part about this whole tale of their Armageddon tale is he's not viewing it as mythology or even necessarily a future warning, which is how we kind of look at our Armageddon in the Bible, right? Or other tales of Armageddon in other religions. We all look at it as a future warning. He's actually looking at it. He says, he basically says he's looking at it as history.
Correct.
Which is very, very interesting.
Well, I think it was more along the lines of Shazam.
Shazam, okay.
Okay, so if you're familiar with the DC comic movie, Shazam, where this battle took place between good and evil, right, and the good was able to prevail, and evil was put into these statues, right, for millions and thousands of years, whatever, and then the Guardian would keep coming through and being replaced to take care of everything, and then eventually during the movie, those demons are released.
Yeah, they get out.
And the 7 deadly sins or whatever, they're released and they get out. And that's the way I viewed this as.
I did too.
Was as it is history.
It's ancient history.
But it was stopped because there was some reason we don't know how it was stopped.
Right.
And so it is part of history. But it's almost as if like he views it as his exact history. Without realizing, well, then how am I here?
Yeah, it's like, and he even goes, history repeats itself, and that's what he's trying to prevent. Ancient past, according to his mythology, is going to happen again, and that's what he's trying to stop, and that's the whole reason that they're crazy, driven mad by it. So to me, this opens up all kinds of possibilities in world building. If we take just a second to pause and think about this from a world building perspective, does this mean, like you said, does this mean that it's a battle that happened in this galaxy or in this universe, or in these, let's just call it this dimension?
Okay.
Okay.
I got you.
Is it that? Did it happen a long time ago in this timeline, or is this a parallel dimension? Because we do have parallel dimensions in Star Trek. We have the mirror universe. We've seen that played out.
Well, see, that was my other thing. It was like, are they going to try to tie this Gamadon into Discovery?
They could,
because Discovery's going through time.
Yeah.
Is Gamadon one of the things that Discovery is going to
find out happened and why Starfleet's disappeared? At least that's what we think happens in season 3.
Yeah. Or is Discovery the reason why Gamadon ends?
Maybe.
And that's why we had never heard of Discovery before they rebooted before they relaunched, essentially revamped Star Trek for.
Because we've got alternate time. Star Trek's all about alternate timelines. They're about alternate dimensions.
They are now.
So there's. What I'm saying is this ASL presents itself as from a world building perspective. For a second, you could take this and you can run with it. Essentially, you've opened up a whole new series of events, storylines, possibilities, ideas, especially if they're as powerful as they claim to be.
Well, yeah, I mean, like even if you just make one series or like one season of
just battling them,
just the battles, or even
teasing.
Yeah, just the ASL. Mm-hmm. Or you could do, if they really wanted to, they could probably start up a comic.
They could books
with novels with the ASL and stuff.
There's all kinds of possibilities here, and I can. All it's going to take is one person to go, like me, and you, and just start thinking about it, and all of a sudden you're like, huh, okay. And you got all kinds of Star Trek possibilities. You can take Star Trek in places it's never been before.
Did you just really say to boldly go
where no one has gone before? But So anyway, just food for thought there for a second, because I thought that by him saying that one line, that it's history and that history repeats itself. There you go. All kinds of possibilities. Then we switch to Alton. Soon he sees that Sultra actually killed Arcana with Narek's help, which leads him to either disable or he kills Sultra. I'm calling it EMP. It's like it actually looks like a little tiny fuse in his hand that he breaks to me, but is it some sort of android disabling EMP, or is it actually, did he actually kill her? I don't know, because these androids seem to die pretty easily.
But we don't know because we don't see it. But who knows? We could go like next season and then them say,
I just reactivated her. Yeah. So I don't know. It was just interesting. Then 7 of 9 gets her little battle with Narissa, who eventually kills her.
Which we knew would happen.
Yeah, and then I'm sorry. This is where this is one of my major problems with the series, and even the end. The Borg ship. Why was it even there to be at? Why was it there?
Why was it there?
It was basically there to use long range sensors. That's basically it. I don't understand the Borg involvement necessarily in this entire series, other than to keep us off our toes as to where the story's going.
Well, no, it was about redemption for the X-Borg, and their transformation back from being what we assumed is the bad guy, the Borg, to being XBs with actual purposes and stuff. When they met them on the ship, where they were being revamped and brought, basically given back to their life, with still that connection there. And so it also gave us 7 of 9.
It did, which was cool to
see.
Because
we always wondered
what happened to her.
What would happen to her? Also, what would happen to her if she went back to the Borg?
Yeah.
And here she became the queen, and you watch her eyes turn black, and you watch her take over, and then it was one of those. Would she give up that power?
Yeah.
Being the Borg Queen, because we
Yeah.
knew what the Borg Queen
Does.
Yeah. So I mean, it was. So I think for us, the whole Borg thing was kind of like a redemption, kind of turning them more so from a villain from previous movies, like previous shows, into more of a civilization, kind of like
starting off
Yes.
their own civilization.
Yes.
I guess I was expecting more. I guess I was expecting.
Oh no, I agree.
It was just a lot of it fell flat. The whole Borg storyline.
I felt the whole thing fell flat.
The way Hugh died. Hugh's kind of a big character. I mean,
Well,
to me anyway.
Hugh wasn't a huge character, but he was one of those like.
Yeah, and they killed him off, and it was like, I don't know. It's one of my problems with the series, and I'll just leave it at that, I guess, and I'll leave the rest for my final thoughts. But it was just, I don't know. It felt very pointless to me. So the Romulan fleet finally shows up. They released their Orchids, which I think they ended up having like 15 or something.
Yeah, it wasn't many.
And they ended up only taking out 18 out of the 218 ships, which I thought it would take out more than that, but yeah. And then Picard decides to take Rio's ship and reach out to Soji. He's basically trying to lead by example, because he's sacrificing. He says, "I'm giving you my life to make you change your mind." Because he looks at him, he goes, "They are still children, and how do you teach children sometime?
Right.
By example, right?
Yeah.
And that's basically what he does. I mean, and he it was cool to see him use kind of the Picard maneuver, illusion trick. It doesn't work for very long, but it is kind of cool to see him throw that back in there a little bit, or a form of it, I thought. And then the cool part happens. Starfleet finally shows up with an equal amount of new heavily armored ships, which was very cool, which I loved, and a lot of Star Trek fans loved, I know, is to see Riker at command of the fleet in protection of Capellus. And then they show Picard using the first contact plea for transmission, to cover him. Which I don't know about you. How did you feel about seeing not only the whole new heavily armed Starfleet fleet
Right.
of ships, but Picard or having Riker at command? I thought was a really cool nod to the fans, or at least.
I thought it was a very cool nod to the fans. I really enjoyed. Like me though, I'm always about the ships.
Yeah.
Even in Star Wars, I'm all about the ships.
Yeah.
And to see them all show up like that, I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
To see Riker in charge was really cool. Now, what I thought would have been really cool, is if you would have had Riker in charge of one, Geordi in charge of one. I mean, like
all different captains.
all different captains of the next generation. Basically, the next generation taking over,
evolving to the
yes,
next level.
I thought that would have been freaking awesome. I know next on season 2 we do get
Geordi, I think,
we get
and Worf, I think.
we're getting Geordi, we're getting Worf, we're getting Whoopi.
That sounds like a interesting joke. All right, go ahead.
But anyway, we're getting those guys back. But I just thought it would have been cool to see basically Picard's proteges all take
The next step.
even seeing even to see Wesley
as something.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or seeing Wesley behind Riker as his number one.
Well, Wesley kind of goes off on his own little journey in Next Gen, and he's off doing whatever.
But you know what I mean? Like it would have been cool.
Cool to see
that kind of stuff happen. Like to see him come back.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed that part. I would have enjoyed it more had there been a battle.
Yes.
And not just I'm sorry, and you turn around and go.
A lot of build up. I know.
Because they were so like that's what we're gonna do, and you're that close, and all of a sudden you're gonna go, oh, okay, we're sorry, bye.
Yeah, well, like because she turns off. Because eventually Picard gets through to Soji. Soji turns off the beacon. Although the beacon opens up, and we do get to see a little bit of this ALS monster, which looks like a bunch of snakes, and it kind of reminded me of the Borg meets Terminator.
Actually, I was gonna say it reminded me of like the Terminator meets that scene in Avengers where they all come out over New York City.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah,
like
it's kind of a little bit of that.
Yeah,
but you do get to see it for a second, and it does look like they're in another dimension or something,
yes.
And that's how.
And it also reminded me as I watched, just like Narek had said, the thing opens in the sky,
and the monsters
and the beasts come out. It's
yeah.
like,
there it is, and it was, I wonder if, not to take DC again, but I wonder if they're trapped. They somehow get trapped in some sort of
Phantom Zone.
Yeah, and I wonder, makes you wonder. And then somebody who gets left behind, one of them builds this system and leaves this message to start it all over again.
Right.
I don't know.
The followers of the ASL.
ASL, yeah, not ALS. That would be wrong. But basically, Picard at the end gives Soji the choice. Essentially, he goes, "The choice is yours." He's sacrificing his life, and she chooses to turn off the beacon.
Mm-hmm.
And then the monsters are gone. They don't make their way out of the portal. And then as soon as that happens, Picard's brain function, what they call it, brain abnormality, finally reaches its end. And Picard passes away from his brain abnormality, but he's surrounded by his crew and his friends, and from this point on, and I don't know how you feel about it, Brian, but at this point, I think Picard's dead. The Picard we know is dead. I don't know about any. We'll talk about what happens next, but what do you think?
I did feel like that's how they were going to end. Like they were just going to end him.
Mm-hmm.
Although in the back of my mind, I always knew they were going to do it the other way around.
Yeah.
But I did feel that was like he was dead. Now I did think, like one of my other theories was when he died, he would have got a jump start, because you had talked about Data. That was Data,
mm-hmm.
and maybe he'd get a jump start
from Data
and come back to life.
Mm-hmm.
But that wasn't the case. But I don't know how I feel about this whole thing. But they've been doing the dies and comes back to life, dies and come back to life for so many times on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. with Coulson that I guess I was.
It takes away from its importance, I think, when they do that.
Yeah. It takes away from its importance. Yeah. I would agree.
But yeah, it's so you get this. So he's gone. You get two nice little morning scenes. One with 7 and 9 and Rios drinking some alcohol together. And then you get Raffi and Elnor basically just crying on Raffi's shoulder.
Yeah.
And then they switch to Picard with Data. So apparently Picard, his brain had been scanned before all his functions ceased. They were able to map it, and they basically took him and put him inside to this machine with Data, where Data's memories were stored, because apparently they found one of Data's neurons in B4, the B4 unit, where Maddox was able to, just like he said in theory, extrapolate his entire memory from. Yep. And basically there's this nice conversation between Data and Picard in this, holographic construct or something.
Yeah, that's what we can call that.
Yeah. And basically Picard gets to, or at least the mapped version of his brain gets to have a conversation with
the one last goodbye with Data.
With Data, and basically,
and Data gets to get his one wish.
So, which I don't agree with, but yeah. So Picard basically, it's all about how Data gave up his life for Picard, all the way going back to the movies, and then how he wished he was him and not him, and then Data kind of sets him straight and goes, well, did you mind giving up your life for Soji? He's like, no, of course not. And they kind of have like a reasoning moment. What did you think about the scene with Data, just for that scene? We'll stop.
Oh, I really liked it.
Yeah,
I really liked that scene. I thought it was good back and forth. Now, what I wish would have happened would have been two things that I think would have been neat. Two ways that they could have handled it. One would have been that there was a second Gollum that we didn't see.
Yeah. And
they put Data into one, put Picard in the other.
Okay.
Yeah. The other thing I think would have been neat is if they would have pulled Data and Picard both out and put them into the Gollum together. And they would have had a
dual personality.
Well, not supposed to dual personality, but they would have had the knowledge
together. Yeah, I might have been okay with that.
Because
maybe.
then it wouldn't so much have been a like what we're gonna do where they say, "Oh, we also gave a life expectancy on the body," and it was like, wait, what?
Yeah, so Picard gets put into Alton's golem,
Which could live forever.
which can live forever, but they put a certain time stamp on him based on how long they think he would have lived anyway, had he not had the brain abnormality. Which at the time he's 94, so probably not too much longer.
Yeah, it was so stupid. I was like,
what? No superpowers. He doesn't have super strength or anything.
yeah,
It's
no. Wait a minute.
What?
You're synthetic, but you have no super
like,
strength.
no. You're about as human as you can be, except you're not human.
Yeah. It'd have been funny. Like, we even made you have to get up to go to the bathroom 4 times a night.
And then, of course, before Data leaves, Data says he wants to be turned off. And his excuse, and I don't necessarily agree with this, but he personally, I don't agree with it at all. But he says in order to cherish things have to come to an end. If you cherish friendships, if you cherish these things through life, well, you can only be cherished if there's an end. And so they use that excuse for Data to ask for Picard to take him offline. And they do, and they show Data kind of aging, and he passes with an actual and it's interesting because a version of Picard in his Next Generation outfit shows up and holds Data's hand at the end, but Picard's outside turning everything off.
Yeah, well, that was
Gollum Picard is turning things off.
That was Data's memory.
Is it?
Yeah, that was Data's memory.
Maybe.
Having, because when they said, the whole thing, like, is, a lot of people say when you die, you see things.
Mm-hmm.
And the most important things come to you when you're dying.
Yeah.
And so that was the most important thing to Data was Picard. Mm-hmm. So he sees Picard there as helping him on his journey. Mm-hmm. And being there for the last thing. I thought it was pretty cool. What I thought another thing was cool was that song that they played.
Yeah.
Was actually sung by
Data in the movie. Yeah.
Well, but it was sung by Soji.
Oh, was it? No.
Yeah, like the actress.
Yeah.
She actually sang that because she has a background in music, and she actually sang that song. I downloaded it on my phone.
Blue Skies. Yeah.
But actually, she sang that song for the TV show.
So I actually think that's the real Picard. That's the way I looked at it. So
you looked at what is the real Picard?
The real Picard showed up.
The real Picard showed up.
The spirit of Picard showed up in Data, and helped Data on.
And the Data and the Picard that's in the thing is not Picard.
He's just a copy.
Okay.
That's how I view it.
Okay.
But that's my 2 cents. And we'll talk more about that in a minute.
Yeah, I mean, it could be.
But yeah, I did not like how they decided to end Data. I get it that Data wanted to. It completes his arc of being more human, but to me, it doesn't work because I think they could bring that character back. I feel like what happened. I feel like I gotta save some of this for my final thoughts. But
that's what we're on.
Yeah, there's a little. Okay, fine. We're on to final thoughts.
We're on final thoughts. Go for it.
We'll just transition here. Yeah, I feel like Data had much more to give, especially with the synths out there. Could bring him back to help lead his people that are basically all his descendants. Instead, they give us this Alton Soon character to take his place. I feel like Brett Spiner, who plays Data, obviously didn't want to wear the makeup anymore and got his way and still got to be, he gets to be a human now, and now he doesn't have to do all the things. The thing is, though, if they can make Picard look exactly the same as he did as an android, they can do the same for Data. And Brett Spiner doesn't have to wear all the crazy makeup and the contacts, and he can still play Data. It bugs me. I think there's so much more you can do with the Data character, especially if Picard's going to have a season 2, and maybe that'll be what season 2 is about. I have no idea, but if they can put wrinkles in Picard, damn it, they can put wrinkles on Data. I also feel like this show was rewritten. I feel like this episode was rewritten as they were filming it. I think my theory of Data being in Picard's head was an actual plot line in this. I really do, especially with Picard saying, "Thanks everybody for coming. I want to thank everybody for coming." I I just don't see them throwing in a random line like that for nothing. To me, that's proof that that was the storyline, or that was going to be part of the storyline, and for whatever reason, they decided to make a hard left and go this other direction. I don't like the idea of Captain Picard becoming, or Admiral Picard, retired, whatever you want to call him, Picard in general. I don't like him being a Gollum. I don't like him being a synth. I don't like any idea of it. Part of what makes Picard is his ability to die, his mortality. I don't know. The whole thing for me. Yeah,
it's his whole. He's willing to sacrifice himself, and you know that he could die.
Right.
So when he says, "I would do this. I'm going to go down with my ship, or I'm going to do this."
Yeah.
You know that he's putting it all on the line. As a Sith, you're like,
synth. Yeah.
yeah. I keep saying Sith.
Sith, I do too. but
as a Sith, you know, he's not like that. You don't.
Yes. He has he apparently has an end date on a ticker. He's on some sort of a time ticker, but it just takes away. I feel like they took Picard, and now we're left with a carbon copy of Picard, who's nothing more than a logical carbon copy of him, who's now searching for a soul. That's exactly how I feel about it. I give this, if I had to grade these final 2 episodes, I give it a C.
So you think that's why we're getting Whoopi in the next one?
To restore Picard's soul.
Because that's what they always had. They always had their talks on the. Whoopi was always at the bar. You know, she's the bartender. She was always talking about spiritual souls and blah 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 and this and that.
Yeah, maybe it would be something. I have to do something to right the ship. But as far as my final grade for these last 2 episodes, it's a C. It's my lowest grade for the entire series. Going into this series, I had the series as a whole at about a B+. This drags it down to a C+. As a whole, that's how much I did not like these final 2 episodes. And yeah, I'm tearing it a new one, but I feel like it deserves it. Brian, what's your take?
So mine is C+ for the series. Like you said, there was so much potential that they wasted. My thing was I was hoping to see more adventures. And what we got to see was more or less a movie. The movie that couldn't even basically make a movie, and they drug it out over 10 episodes. I thought it was slow, and they just inserted things at the end of episodes to keep us excited, waiting for the next episode. Like ooh, this could happen, or ooh, this could happen, and they did the whole episode was kind of crap until you get to the very end of it. It's like ooh, like the battle scene that never happened, or you know those kind of things. What else do I have here? I have I said I was hoping for something more along the lines of next generation, and got something more along the lines of Picard's journey to senior citizenry and death. I wanted Data way earlier than what we got him. Like you said, he could have been so much part of this. How do you have an entire series based on synthetic life forms and Data's not there?
Yeah, he's just in the background.
I said I did like the completion of humanity with getting his death scene. That was nice. Although I wanted to be able to be like, he got his death scene, he died, but then got turned right back on.
That would be good.
You know what I mean? Like, and you're like, he's like, there you go. Now you'll be able to feel what death was like. And then him be like, okay, I don't want to experience that again. And then he has that fear of death in him
going forward.
Yeah. What else we got here? I wrote these notes last night in case you guys were just wondering why I'm looking at my phone here. Let's see. Yeah, I wanted the very, like, one of the ending lines to be like Picard saying, "Okay, there's how death feels. Now that you know, let's go do other adventures. You know, let's go do whatever." Yeah. Just to set up the second series. If I had to choose between Picard and Discovery on which Star Trek, and I call them revivals, because they're not reboots. It's basically like Star Trek was fizzling out.
Yeah.
And this is more like a revival into pulp culture, like trying to make them more relevant again. So I'm going to call them revival series.
Okay.
I think that Discovery was better at this point. I feel is that fair because Discovery's already had 2 seasons? Do I feel more vested in because of that reason? No. I thought about that long and hard because I was like, well, maybe it's because I just feel more vested because I've had more seasons of it. But I did feel that with Discovery we were given it was the expectations. With Discovery we didn't have any expectations. We were just trying to figure out how it tied in. Yeah. Right? With Picard, a lot of people, including myself, we wanted Next Generation 2.0.
Yeah.
Right? And instead we got Next Generation last week on the Blockbuster shelf before they closed.
The retirement community.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, I can't wait to see next season and all the stuff they bring back to tie into Next Generation, the fan service, if you will. I'd be nice to see that kind of stuff. Yeah. But I'd like to see more missions. Like more individual missions like they did for Next Generation, as opposed to a one whole story arc. Or they do one of those, like, one whole story arc for the whole season, but they have many episodes that kind of take us in that direction, as opposed to one long, slow movie divided into 10 parts.
Okay.
That's my grade, would be C+ for the whole series so far.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Discovery, I'm waiting to see this season 3. I think it's gonna be the make or break for me. Yeah. Right now, I'm sitting with solid B+. Okay. For the Discovery series, only because of some of the stuff that they've been able to tie in, and a lot of the questions that fans have had with, like, the whole canon thing, like, oh, well, that wouldn't happen because if they're based from then they wouldn't have those uniforms or whatever, and they've been able to fix all those little things and, like, oh, well, they time travel to this and they have this and this. That's why we don't see them.
That's why time travel. Yeah,
yeah,
they're time traveling.
That's why. Captain Kirk and the original Enterprise. That's why their uniforms look so different from Discovery's, and why we didn't know about Discovery until, it fixed a lot of that stuff that people were worried about. Like, if this is how this is going, how did this not happen?
Okay, well, let me play devil's advocate with you for 1 second.
Yeah.
So you said because Discovery had 2 seasons and this one only has 1. So let's just look at it from Discovery season 1 versus Picard season 1.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I thought originally if that was the case, like, I only liked Discovery more because I was more vested because it had 2 seasons. Yeah. That's not the case. It's not. Going back and just looking at season 1 versus season 1,
Discovery still wins.
Discovery still wins. Like, you can go back on our review. I still gave it a higher grade. Mm-hmm. Like, I really enjoyed that series. Season 2 of that, I really enjoyed that series. Mm-hmm. Picard just felt flat, and I think it was because of our expectations of.
It fell flat at the end for me.
I was Picard. Even when we were watching the very beginning, and we were watching the first episode, we're like, "Ooh, Picard," and you're like, "Oh, wait, he just gave up." Like, wait, what?
Yeah, I was okay with that because I knew there was going to be a plot line going forward. In fact, I was with you. I was like, I'm on this, all the way up through episode 8. I was like, man, okay, we're kicking butt here, and then we hit this damn finale, and it just.
Yeah, it was like here's this build up to this big battle coming, and it's gonna be all these ships against the Romulans. Okay, yeah, let's do it, and then all of a sudden it was like,
that's it. We're done.
It was basically a standoff. They turned their head and ran.
It was not only that, but it was.
But that's
so much more going on there that.
Right, yeah. But that's the way the whole thing felt for me. It was like it's build up, and they get to the very end. They're like, nah, here's how this ends. Here's how this ends. Okay, goodbye. Thanks for coming.
It would have been nice to see the 2 fleets engage a little bit.
Yeah,
but it could have been budget restraints. Who knows? But
well, yeah, I'm sure that's exactly what it was. It was budget restraints. But that's what a lot of these issues that we have as fans. Yeah. When we're watching, we're like, why wouldn't you just do that? Yeah. Like, why didn't you do this?
Just do it.
Yeah.
Who cares if a couple ships get blown up here or there? I mean, it would be cool.
But it's a monetary issue for them. Like, it would cost us. We could either have them all come up together and just replicate the same ship over and over and over again.
Well, that was the other thing I was going to say about Starfleet is it was the same ship.
Yeah.
There wasn't.
Yeah, and that's why I thought it was
hodgepodge.
I thought it was Picard's the Picard maneuver where it was all just and it was just Riker.
Yeah.
Not a whole bunch of ships.
Doing the
I thought it was just Riker and it was a bunch of Mirages.
Okay. Gotcha.
And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was just like, it was just Picard and Riker versus all the, like, if they would have went away and then they turned it off.
Riker turns it off.
Yes. That would have been better.
That would have been funny.
That would have been better than, because then it would have been like the student learned from the teacher, and he used it.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
All right. Well, I think we've given a pretty good review here. We're well over an hour, and it was an hour show, so or 2 hour,
2 hours,
2 hours to 1 hour. So
yeah.
But I will say this: despite my tearing apart of the finale, I am looking forward to season 2. Obviously, I think there's going to be a little bit of a break with the COVID thing, but hopefully they can get season 2 in as whatchamacallit just turned 80 years old. So
right, yeah.
Please, COVID, stop.
Yeah. All we're currently
before
getting
he dies.
All we're currently getting is Patrick Stewart reading poems on Facebook.
Yeah, right. Which is fine, but I'd like a little bit more than that. All right, Brian. Well, I want to thank you for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me back, man. It's good to be back.
It is good to be back. It's great to be back. It feels good to be back. All right, so with that, this is B. Willie saying, live long and prosper.
Ooh, live long and prosper.